All right, this is my daughter's 2017 Hyundai Elantra. It's the base model, the SE, and it has 129,204 miles on it when we're doing this service. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the transmission into neutral, and I'm going to put the emergency brake on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I already put the car in neutral and put the e-brake on, and I shut it off. So now we're going to take off this air box. This is the first time I'm doing all this, so I'm just having to learn. This is, let's see, I made my directions for how I was going to do it. 3 10mm bolts holding this air box on. There's one here. So what I have here is a 10mm longer socket. This is a 3/8 extension, and then my 3/8 socket. So there's one. There's one right here. Okay, there's that. I'm trying to see where my, okay. Third one looks like it's down here. Down there. Not positive I can get to that. Okay, I'm recording this part at the end, but I'm going to insert it at a helpful spot for you when you're watching. So when I started the video and I took off this air box so that I could access the transmission fluid fill plug, I initially left this piece on and worked around it. And then at the end of the job, when I was putting the air box back on, I realized how much easier it would be with this off. And so definitely go ahead and remove this first. It's got these 2 little plastic clips with a little push pin in the center. So you just poke down in the center little button will go down, and then these clips just pop off. This just slides off that way, and this hose just comes off with your hand. So I do show that in the video at the end. I might find a way to edit it here, so you'll see it twice. But initially I took the air box off and got the drain plug with this on, so that's why you're gonna see it on in the video. But I recommend at the beginning, when you remove this air box, just go ahead and remove this, get it out of your way. It takes 2 seconds and it's very simple. The only thing is watch out that you don't drop the middle of that pin off when you take those clips out like I did. I fortunately was able to find it. So I hope that'll be helpful. Thank you. Easy it would be to pop this off. Okay, so that's, oh boy, I think that clip broke. That might have been the part of that little clip. That's what, those are really small. But now we can see what we're doing. So next time I'll just pop that off. And we're on it right now. So I think I'm gonna be able to get it. Okay, I got it. I just can't get my hand on it. So it's all the way loosened. I got a Phillips screwdriver for this right here. Gonna loosen this hose so our air box will come off. Okay. So that clamp can stay on there. It's loose enough, so air box removes. And we'll just kind of lift it out. We gotta remember we got that bolt setting in there, so I don't want to lose that. So I'm just gonna kind of work this up. this way. There's my bolt. Just gonna go ahead and grab it. Put it with the others. So this air box, I'll just sit out of the way. So this is my transmission fluid fill bolt. That's why we had to take that off just now, this plastic nut right here. So I was watching some videos, and that's the reason I put it in neutral. I guess when you shift it into neutral, it does something here that makes it accessible, where otherwise it's kind of, I guess this is kind of in the way or something. So that's why it's in neutral. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get that bolt off of there. No, I'm just wondering if that square in the middle is made for maybe a 3/8, like a breaker bar kind of thing, where you use the actual square end of a socket maybe. Probably. Oh yeah, oh my. That was not really, okay. That is just basically like sitting there. Oh my, okay, so it's not really like a screw. It's like, it just like rotates. But anyway, the videos, plural, that I watched on this talked about what a pain this is to get out, because it won't clear right here. So people were talking about, like, once they finally got it out, or they had to like cut the plastic bolt to get it out. But with it in neutral, some people said they were able to finagle it. So we're just gonna kind of see what we can do. All right, we're gonna experiment real quick, maybe. Maybe we could see what it does when I shift the gears. I have to have that off in order to put transmission fluid in. So, not gonna go any farther until I can figure something out with that. I may just try to grab it with maybe some channel locks. See if I can finagle it. So getting something that can actually grip it better than my fingers. I don't know why you would design something like this. I mean, this is a big oversight, I would think. Guess I'm kind of wondering, I don't want to ruin anything. I'm just wondering what loosening this nut would do. Because if I loosen that nut, you would think that I could lift that up a little bit. I just hate messing with more. Don't like messing with stuff. But now I see why people put a notch in it. So for example, you can see this comes in. So what you could do is you could pick, if you had the right tool, you could come in, you could rotate this nut wherever you wanted. You could come in on the side or on the side, and you could grind out a piece of plastic. So you had a notch in there, and then you'd rotate that until it got there, and then you'd lift it out. But what a pain. So I think I am gonna start it up and shift through the gears and see if that moves to a point where it would come out. So at least that way from the video, you'll get to see what it does when the gears are shifted. So if you ever start the car, always move all your spare parts off. And I don't even like leaving these lights up here while the engine's running, so we're just gonna go without them. I think the phone light Just have it right there. And if that moves where you think I can reach in there and get it, just tell me. And I will undo it.
The thing did. No, I'm gonna show you what's moving. That big thing's not moving. It's the other part. Well, it puts it in the way. It's that latch thing that's moving. Now it's kind of up on top of it. Yeah, that gets it away.
So that is neutral. So y'all on the video know more than I do right now because I didn't see it move. Let me get my lights back.
That thing's the only thing that moves. That top part.
This?
Yes, that keeps moving back
So
and
this
forth.
was over it before?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So that's what they meant by put it in neutral.
But that thing on the bottom didn't move.
All right. So I might at least mark where a notch would be good so that if I get it off, I can notch it. So okay, the marker worked, the knife probably did. So now that I see it for myself, I understand why people are saying it's good to put a notch in that thing. I'm gonna go ahead and loosen this up, see if it'll raise that up at all. This was my 10 millimeter. That's what it is, so let's just give it a shot. Just gonna see if loosening this a little bit. Okay, it's already loose. Yeah, it's not budging that. Loosen that a little bit. Loosen that a little bit. Okay. I kind of moved it a little bit. At least kind of moved just a bit. I feel like I'm so close. I got it. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead before I forget. Tighten these back down. Okay. So before we move on, I'm gonna figure out how to put a little notch in this thing. What a terrible design that is. There's no reason to have something be like that. I'll check back in when I can show you what I ended up doing. Let me turn the light off. Okay, sometimes I wish I had a vise, but I don't. So sometimes I could clamp it to something, but I'm gonna hold it with my hand. It's plastic, so it's soft. This is a Dremel tool. I got my marks here and here of where that metal thing was, so I'm gonna try and get rid of some plastic. Whatever I do, it'll help it. So I'm just gonna melt away some plastic. Okay, we're gonna test that out. So this is what it looks like now. Just with the Dremel tool. So, okay, so from now on, if this works, we would just line up our little notch. Oh, look at that. No problem. So then we would, there's a weird thing about this. It really just doesn't really tighten. It kind of just sits on there and like barely turns, and it's in there. So anyway, in the future we won't have that problem. We can just we'll probably still put it in neutral, but then we'll be able to take it out. So since that's easy and I don't want to lose it, I'm just going to leave it in. Just going to leave it sitting in there so I don't have to worry about it. So put the e-brake, shift to neutral, loosen and remove the fill bolt. I remove the air box. Okay, so under the car again, now we got that cover off. So now we can see everything. So there, we already talked to you about where the oil filter was. We could see that through the cover. There's your oil pan, your oil drain bolt. But then over here towards the driver's side, this is our transmission right here. And so right under here on the bottom is a 24 millimeter drain bolt. So this is what we're gonna do to drain our transmission, is loosen this bolt. So that's where we're working under here. All right, so I'm gonna get under there. I already showed you where that 24 millimeter drain bolt is for the transmission fluid. I'm gonna drain it into this pan because it's gonna be messy. I need to catch all of it. But I've watched enough videos where I feel comfortable just putting 4 quarts in of automatic transmission fluid, but I am curious how much is in there. But we should be right around 4 quarts. So that's what we're gonna plan to put in no matter what. I've got a breaker bar, or a extendable ratchet here. If I need more torque, I've got a longer breaker bar and a pipe I can use, but let's see how I do with this length first. I do have some gloves on that have some padding on the back. Don't want to bust our knuckles under there on something. I've got a tarp down on the floor. It's almost impossible to do some of this stuff without, so we want to keep everything on the tarp, protect our floor. Normally I do this outside, but we've got rain Had rain all day today, got rain all night tonight, and it's cold in the morning. I just wanted to start this evening after work, see how it goes, see how far I get tonight before I run out of energy. And we can pick it up in the morning. I don't have to worry about, I can leave the car like this overnight inside. But anyway, we're gonna keep moving. I'm gonna go get that done. I'm not gonna video under there because I already showed you where the bolt is. So, just gonna put my pan under my bolt. I got a rag, and I got a blue t-shirt rag somewhere. And this may take more than just one rag. Well, I have no idea how messy this could be. All right. Socket on there. All right, oh man, that is concerning how loose that was. I barely moved it and it's loose like that. Scares me a little bit. You can try to catch the bolt in your hand. It's not the end of the world if you drop it. So what you do is you kind of press the bolt up while you're loosening to try and limit what leaks out. Okay, I dropped it. I had it in my hand that whole time and then I dropped it at the end. But I fished it out right there. It's nice having that drain bolt on the bottom instead of on the side at the bottom. It's nice to actually have it at the bottom. All right, so let me show you something while it's draining. So these drain bolts on things like transmissions, and let me shut the light off so it's not pointing at you. These drain bolts has a magnet built in. So this part is a magnet, and so it's catching metal shavings. So when we rub that off, that's all junk that's stuck to the magnet. It's nothing to be concerned about. It's what they're designed to do. But you see that's metal. Look at that. That's metal. You can actually see it. Little pieces of metal. That's from transmission wear. So there's no telling when you buy a used car how some things have been taken care of. Carfaxes show some things, but where they don't show, you really don't know. Like on a service record, if they were taking it to somewhere other than the dealership or doing it themselves, it's not gonna be on the Carfax. So what you do is you just clean that off so your magnet's clean, so now it'll start catching metal again. The other thing I could not find anywhere on the internet was what size of crush washer I need to replace. So I'd like to preferably replace this washer. So I need to find out what size it is. And so I just clean that bolt off real nice because it'll be going back on very soon in our steps here. As soon as that's done draining, I need to put it back on. So I'm gonna go, that's all metal. So I'm glad we changed it. Really had no idea how long it had been. I'm gonna go ahead and see what kind of crush washers I have. I'm pretty sure I'll have one the right size. Okay, so it's just barely dripping now. We figured out that this takes an 18 millimeter crush washer. So the socket size, 24 millimeters, the crush washer size, 18 millimeters, and then it needs to be torqued to 30 foot-pounds. unlike when we took it off and it was barely on there at all. So we are going to use a rag, not our dirty one. This one's the one that had the metal, so I'm going to make sure that finds a trash can, and I won't be using that anymore. So what I'll do is just kind of by hand. Also want to, just make sure, you don't have any washers stuck there. We saw that our washer came off. You could have your washer stuck. So you want to get that off, you're going to have a leak. So I'm just going to kind of use my rag to wipe it. It's just barely a slow drip. And then I'll get my bolt here started real quickly by hand to spin it on there right up till it touches the metal. And then just gonna grab my 24 millimeter socket and my torque wrench, already set to 30 pound-feet of torque. And so I will tighten it until I hear one click, then I will stop. That's it. Wow. So it's really not 30 foot-pounds, there's really not a lot. All right, so we got our drain bolt back on. Really not messy so far. I'm gonna dump it into my measurable pitcher that I have, and then I'll dispose of it, but that way I can find out exactly what's in there. Okay, so I got another little tarp here. This is what we got out. We're gonna pour this into this measurable pitcher, estimating we have approximately 4 quarts in there. So I'm gonna pour up to 2 quarts, gonna dump it in my recyclable container, pour the rest in if it'll fit, see what we actually got out. I'm not gonna video that part because I need my wife's help, but we'll let you know how much we get. Okay, so this is our first set. We're right at the 2.0 quart mark. So we're gonna dump this and then see what we got left. All right, so we're right about 3.7, barely under 3.7, but we also have some residue in that container. So we're gonna call it 3.7, but based on other videos I've watched, I'm gonna put 4 quarts in it. Okay, so we're gonna get our setup ready to add our 4 quarts of automatic transmission fluid. We set our notched plug back in there because we knew we could get it out. This is a transmission fluid fill funnel. We're gonna put it right in the top there. Obviously, when we're pouring this in, we're gonna really keep an eye on there that it's secure. Okay, so what we have here is a Valvoline Max Life full synthetic multi-vehicle automatic transmission fluid. It has the specifications. This matches what Hyundai requires in the owner's manual. So we already have 4 quarts, took all the lids off. So now I can focus on 1 quart at a time, watching to make sure that I'm secure in that hole. Give my fluid a nice clear path here. And then I'm gonna just pour this in. Usually our dog is helping me, but tonight it's our cat enjoying the car maintenance. With that clear tube, you can see the red automatic transmission fluid going in there. Okay, there's 1 quart. I'm gonna kind of let my funnel rest where it won't drip out any. Set that aside, grab my second one. So I recommend doing this every 30,000 miles. So if you buy a used car, you have no idea if it was ever changed. It's got over 30,000 miles on it. The safest thing is to just do it. And then start there. Start where you're at. This is our fourth and final quart. I never really understand why auto manufacturers a few years back stopped putting transmission dipsticks. So that's why a lot of people just drain out what they have and put the same amount back in. The reason I hate that method is you never know if the person before you did it right. So anyway, I read enough to feel good about the 4 quarts. So that's what we did, 4 quarts exactly. Let's give your funnel a little bit of time. So just in the future, now that I've done this once, in the future I will not measure what I took out. I'll just drain it, dump it, add 4 quarts. I only wanted to do that the first time to see what I got. Kind of gives me an idea of what was in there, but I don't care from now on. Well, just from now on, just drain it and put in 4 quarts. All right, so I'm gonna set this funnel aside. We're gonna put in our, just gonna kind of put our cap back on. Let me just show you this cap. It's not a screw in, it's just got this shape where it goes in and twists a very partial turn, and that's all it is. So it does not screw in, it just kind of sits in there. It's very odd how it's not really secured. It's just, I mean, I'm sure it is, but. So basically I just line my notch up since I got a notch in there. And then all I gotta do is kind of make sure it's turned and not gonna just pull out. So there we go. Transmission fluid is done. Okay, so we got the transmission fluid in. So now to complete the transmission fluid job, I want to put this air box back in. It was held together, held in there by 3 bolts like this, 10 millimeter that went here. This was the one that's right here, right up against this hose. That one. This one goes here. And then there's this other one, which is here. So these are the 3 that we're dealing with right there. And then when we're done, you know, this hose is gonna go here. This hose has to line up there. So we're gonna kind of do that right now. So I'm gonna just kind of start putting it down in there. Kind of move this hose out of our way. It bends quite a bit. I'm gonna really be watching kind of this other one, if I can see, kind of in my own way in. It's hard to see down there. It really is. Man. Okay, almost got a little kind of peek through here a little bit. Okay, yeah. Like when I took it off, I didn't really have to worry about that because I just pulled up and then it just kind of came out. But going back in, I gotta line that up. Okay, so all my bolt holes should be lined up, but I wish I could really get a more good look at this hose. Okay. That looks good. It's in a bad spot where not only is it hard to see, but it's just, all right. So we're gonna put in our bolts. It's got me wondering how easy it would be to pop this off. Okay, so that's, oh boy, I think that clip broke. That might have been the part of that little clip. That's why those are really small. But now we can see what we're doing. So next time I'll just pop that off. But now this way I can make for sure that this hose has a good seal. So from now on, I'll just take that off from the beginning. And once I find out the right clips, just keep them on hand if I don't already have them. Okay. Before we tighten that too much more, I'm gonna get this last one started. Okay. So put that back on. Got a Phillips screwdriver. Just want to snug those. Okay. Let's see these little bitty pins. So these are different. I showed you, this is the other thing that's confusing. These plastic clips work differently. So the ones on the bottom were like this. You had to put this in there in between the two and pull up, and then it comes out. These, you got to push down on that button and then they pop out. But as you saw, the other one, the button piece fell through. So we have one piece of it, but the button piece is missing. I think I heard it hit the floor, so we're gonna see if we can salvage it. Okay, so it was very easy to find. I don't know if it's broke. Let's see, so it should be down. So yeah. So I think it's gonna work. So it just kind of popped right in there. So we're gonna see if that'll work. So this, I gotta put right there. Nice fit, popped right in. This gonna go right there. Definitely gonna take this off next time at the beginning. So see, I learned things the first time. You get to benefit from my mistakes. So put that in there, just push down and it's in. Don't need a tool. Push down. The button will pop up. The button's depressed right now in the middle. It's gonna pop up when I push it down so it's level. And it holds it in, so cool. Now, the transmission fluid is officially done.